Welcome, fellow explorers, to a journey beyond the limits of classical understanding. In this deep dive, we unravel a story that intertwines the enigmatic brilliance of a vanished physicist, the mind-bending world of quantum mechanics, and the bleeding edge of computing technology. Majorana Zero Modes, MZMs, exotic quasi-particles that could revolutionize quantum computing. Microsoft's newly unveiled Majorana 1 chip is taking the first steps toward a future where computation is not just faster, but fundamentally different. But before we dive into the quantum jungle, let's step back in time to 1938, when a genius named Ettore Majorana mysteriously disappeared. His work on neutrino masses and self-quantizing fermions laid the groundwork for concepts we are only now beginning to grasp. Did he foresee something beyond his time? From the Higgs field's strange connection to superconductors to the braiding of MZMs as a new form of computation, this episode bridges cutting-edge technology with the deepest mysteries of the universe. So grab a seat at our Space-Time Café, where science meets speculation, where questions lead to more questions, and where reality itself is up for debate. Let's begin.
Hey everyone, are you ready for a deep dive into the wild world of quantum computing?
Always ready for a physics adventure.
Well, get this. Microsoft just dropped a bombshell announcement about their brand new Majorana 1 chip.
It's pronounced Majorana, not Majorana.
Ah, good catch. Majorana it is. So this chip is causing a serious stir in the physics community, and for good reason. They say it could completely revolutionize computing as we know it.
Yeah, it's a big deal because Microsoft is taking a totally different approach with this chip. They are not using those typical qubits that are like super sensitive and error prone.
Yeah, I've heard those things are finicky. So what are they using instead?
They're using these crazy things called Majorana Zero Modes, MZMs for short.
MZMs. Okay, now we're talking. Those sound seriously sci-fi. What are MZMs and what makes them so special for quantum computing?
Well, the problem with regular qubits is that they're incredibly fragile. Even the tiniest little disturbance can throw them off and cause errors.
That makes sense. Quantum stuff is notoriously delicate.
Right. But MZMs, they're different. They have this amazing property called topological protection. That means they are way more stable and less prone to those annoying errors that plague other qubits.
So it's like their information is somehow woven into the fabric of reality itself, making it almost impossible to mess up.
Exactly. Imagine a knot in a rope. No matter how you bend the rope, the knot stays the same, right? It's similar to how the quantum state of an MZM is protected from small changes in its surroundings.
It's like a fortress for information.
Oh.
Okay, I'm starting to see why people are excited about this. So to understand how MZMs work, I guess we need to go back to the basics, right? Like, what are particles and antiparticles, and how do they fit into all of this?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. We have two basic types of particles in the universe: fermions and bosons.
Fermions and bosons. Okay, I vaguely remember those terms from physics class. Remind me, which again?
Fermions are the building blocks of matter. They're like the introverts of the particle world. They don't want to share their space. Electrons are a good example of fermions.
So they're kind of like those people who need their personal space on a crowded train.
Yeah. They refuse to occupy the same quantum state. It's like trying to cram two tennis balls into the exact same spot. Not going to happen.
Right. Makes sense. So what about bosons? They're more laid back.
Totally. Bosons are the life of the party. They can all hang out in the same quantum state with no problem. Photons, the particles of light, are bosons.
I get it. So our matter is made of those standoffish fermions, and light is made of those friendly bosons. Okay, we've got fermions and bosons, but you mentioned antiparticles. What are those? Are they like the villains of the particle world?
It's kind of like that. Every particle has an antiparticle. They have the same mass but opposite charge. And when a particle meets its antiparticle...
What happens? Fireworks, explosion.
You got it. Well, sort of. They annihilate each other in a burst of pure energy.
Whoa, that's intense. So how do Majorana fermions fit into all of this? What makes them so special?
Majorana Fermions are like the ultimate particle rebels. They blur the line between matter and antimatter.
Okay, you've got to elaborate on that.
They're particles that are their own antiparticles.
Wait, what? They're their own evil twins? That's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's a very strange concept.
Okay, hold on. Have we actually found any real particles out there in the universe that act like Majorana Fermions? Or is this all just theoretical?
That's one of the big mysteries in physics. Neutrinos are a possible contender for a fundamental Majorana particle, but it hasn't been definitively proven yet.
Right.
But here's where things get really interesting.
Late on me.
In condensed matter physics, the study of how particles behave in materials, we can actually create quasi-particles that behave exactly like Majorana fermions.
Quasi-particles. Okay, I'm all ears. What are those?
So imagine a bunch of particles in a material, right? They're all interacting with each other in complex ways. Sometimes the collective behavior of all these particles creates something that acts like a single particle, even though it's actually the result of many particles working together. That's a quasi-particle.
So it's like a group project, but for particles.
You could say that. And these quasi-particles can have some pretty wild properties. Sometimes they even act just like Majorana fermions, even if no single particle in the material is a true Majorana fermion.
That's amazing. So these Majorana quasi-particles, or MZMs, are those what Microsoft is using in their chip?
Yes. They're using nanowires made of indium arsenide and aluminum to create these MZMs. And here's a cool thing. These MZMs form at the edges of the material, which is part of what makes them so stable.
I see. So it's like they're tucked away safely at the boundaries of the material, shielded from any disturbances. That makes a lot of sense. But how do we actually turn these MZMs into a qubit, the basic unit of information in a quantum computer?
That's where the Kitayev chain comes in.
Kitayev chain, another new term. You're throwing a lot at me here.
Don't worry, I'll explain. The Kitayev chain is a theoretical model that helps us understand how MZMs can emerge in certain materials. Imagine a line of atoms, each with a single electron.
Okay, I'm picturing it. A line of atoms, each with its little electron buddy.
Perfect. Now, to make things a bit simpler, let's pretend these electrons don't have any spin, just for the sake of explanation.
Okay, so no spin. Got it. What next?
Now, here's where the fun starts. We introduce something called P-wave superconductivity. It's a special type of superconductivity where the electron pairs all spin in the same direction.
So usually in superconductors, the electrons are paired up with opposite spins.
Right, exactly. That's the norm. But in P-wave superconductivity, they're all spinning the same way.
Interesting. So what happens when we sprinkle this P-wave superconductivity magic onto our line of spinless electrons?
Something incredible. At the ends of this chain, unpaired Majorana Zero Modes appear as if by magic. It's like our electron conga line suddenly has two special dancers bookending the whole thing.
So those MZMs are like the VIPs of the electron party, hanging out at the exclusive ends of the chain.
Precisely. And these MZMs at each end of the chain, those are what we use to create a qubit.
I see. So how does that actually work? Do we, connect two MZMs together to make one qubit?
You can think of it that way. We use two MZMs to encode a single qubit. They could be from different Kitayev chains, or they could be from different spots on the same chain.
So it's like each MZM is holding half of the information, and together they form a complete qubit.
You got it. Whether there's a fermion present in the combined state of those two MZMs determines if the qubit is a 0 or a 1. It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
Wow, this is getting pretty deep into the quantum weeds, but I'm loving it. So we've got our MZMs, we've got our Kitayev chain. We're starting to get a glimpse of how this all works. But I have to ask, are there still major challenges to overcome before we have a fully functional quantum computer based on this technology? I mean, it sounds pretty complex.
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely still in the early stages of topological quantum computing. There's a lot more work to be done. For example, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out how to scale up the number of qubits.
Right, because right now we're just talking about a single qubit. To do anything really useful, we need a lot more of these electron conga lines working together in perfect harmony.
Exactly. We need processors with millions of qubits working together to tackle real-world problems. And Microsoft has said they have a direct path to 1 million qubits, but we should probably take that with a grain of salt for now.
Right, because going from 1 qubit to 1 million is like going from building a bicycle to building a spaceship. There are a lot of steps in between.
Exactly. There are huge engineering hurdles involved in building and controlling a system that large and complex, even with the inherent stability advantages of MZMs. So yeah, while it's incredibly exciting, we need to be realistic about the timeline for all of this. But it's still super impressive that Microsoft has actually been able to control and measure these individual topological qubits, you know?
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. I mean, they figure out how to actually manipulate these MZMs and read information from them.
Yeah.
That's a huge step towards building a working topological quantum computer.
Absolutely.
So big progress, but still early days. Now, I know you love to connect seemingly unrelated things.
Oh yeah, always up for a challenge.
So is there anything we can compare this whole MZM situation to? Something that could help wrap our heads around it? I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Well, this might sound a bit out there, but bear with me.
Okay.
There's actually a really interesting connection to the Higgs field.
Hold on, the Higgs field. As in the thing that gives particles mass.
You got it. The very same one.
Whoa. We're going from these tiny little quasi-particles to the fundamental fabric of the universe now.
Yeah, kind of. There's this mind-blowing analogy between how the Higgs field interacts with particles and how superconductors work.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more about this connection. What in the world does the Higgs field have to do with superconductors?
So think about it this way. The Higgs field, even in what we think of as completely empty space, has a value everywhere.
Okay.
It's like how a superconducting condensate fills up a material.
So you're saying that even seemingly empty space is actually filled with this invisible stuff that acts like a superconductor?
That's the idea. And just like a superconductor can give photons, which are the particles of light, an effective mass when they're inside the material.
Okay, I'm following.
The Higgs field gives other particles their mass through their interactions with it.
I see. So it's like the Higgs field is this cosmic superconductor giving mass to all the particles in the universe.
It's a pretty wild thought, right? This whole idea is known as the Anderson-Higgs mechanism.
Wow. So if we take this analogy even further, could we say that the vacuum of space itself is basically like one giant superconductor?
That's a really interesting way to think about it. It's important to remember that the Higgs field isn't technically a superconductor in the strictest sense of the word.
Right.
But the similarities in their behavior are definitely there, and they're worth exploring further.
Absolutely. This is getting pretty deep. We've covered the basics of MZMs and how they relate to this groundbreaking new chip from Microsoft. But there's still so much more to uncover.
Yeah, for sure. That's a whole new world down there.
We haven't even talked about how these MZMs are actually used to perform calculations. One of the things I've heard about is this idea of braiding MZMs. What in the world does that mean?
Braiding MZMs. That's one of the most mind-boggling aspects of topological quantum computing.
Okay, braiding. I'm picturing something like braiding hair, but with these invisible quasi-particles. How does that even work?
Well, imagine you're exchanging or braiding two MZMs. This process actually changes the overall quantum state of the entire system.
Wait, so the order you braid these things in actually matters? That's crazy. It's like saying that braiding your hair into a French braid makes it hold differently than a Dutch braid.
You got it. That's a great analogy. And that's one of the things that makes MZMs so unique. They're not just any old quasi-particle.
That's special.
They follow these unique rules called non-abelian statistics, which means that the order of operations actually matters.
So we're not just braiding for aesthetics here. This braiding actually does something meaningful in terms of computation.
Absolutely. Braiding MZMs is the foundation of how we can actually do computation with topological qubits.
So how does Microsoft actually do this braiding in their chip? Are they physically moving these MZMs around? I mean, how do you even move a quasi-particle?
It's not about physical movement in the traditional sense. Remember, these MZMs are quasi-particles.
Right.
They're these emergent phenomena that arise from the collective behavior of electrons in the material.
Right, it's like a team effort.
Exactly. So Microsoft manipulates these MZMs by controlling the interactions between these electrons,
Right.
using very carefully applied electrical signals and magnetic fields.
So they're basically orchestrating a complex dance of electrons to braid these MZMs.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And by controlling this intricate electron dance, they can perform very specific quantum operations.
Wow.
Paving the way for powerful new quantum algorithms.
This is mind-blowing stuff. Now, I can't help but think back to that Higgs field analogy you mentioned earlier. Is there any connection between braiding MZMs and what's happening in the vacuum of space with the Higgs field?
That's a great question. It's a very insightful one. While there's no direct analogy to braiding MZMs in the context of the Higgs field,
Okay.
the idea that topological properties play a fundamental role in physics is definitely something that's worth pondering. Some theoretical physicists even speculate that the very structure of space-time itself could have topological features.
Whoa, that's some serious next-level thinking. So we're talking about the possibility that the fabric of reality itself might be woven together in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
Exactly. It's a captivating thought. And while it's still highly speculative,
Sure.
the connections between seemingly disparate areas of physics, like condensed matter physics and cosmology, often lead to really unexpected breakthroughs.
This is what I love about these deep dives. We start with a news announcement about a new chip, and we end up contemplating the fundamental nature of reality. It just goes to show that there's always more to learn, more connections to uncover, and more questions to ask.
That's the beauty of science. Always more to explore.
Speaking of discoveries, let's bring things back down to Earth for a moment.
Okay.
Back to the Majorana 1 chip. Microsoft has made some pretty bold claims about its potential.
They have.
But how does it actually stack up against other approaches to quantum computing? I mean, there's a lot of competition out there.
You're right, it's a crowded field. To answer that, we need to think about the strengths and weaknesses of topological quantum computing compared to these other methods.
Okay, lay it out for us. What are the pros and cons of going the topological route with these MZMs?
Well, the main advantage of topological quantum computing is, as we've already talked about, the inherent fault tolerance of MZMs.
Right, the topological protection making them much less susceptible to noise and errors.
Exactly. That's a huge deal because noise and errors are a major hurdle for other qubit technologies.
So it's like having a built-in error correction system that's baked into the very nature of the qubit itself.
Precisely. And this could be a game changer when it comes to scalability.
Yeah, if you can just build bigger systems without worrying about them falling apart.
Exactly. If we can build these large-scale quantum computers that are inherently more stable,
Right.
we're that much closer to unlocking their full potential.
Okay, that sounds incredibly promising. But I'm guessing there are some downsides too, right?
Of course. Nothing's perfect.
So, what are the catches?
One of the biggest challenges is the sheer complexity of creating and controlling these MZMs.
All right.
It requires very, very specific conditions and very intricate fabrication techniques.
So it's not exactly easy to get all the right ingredients in place and make these MZMs behave the way we want them to.
You could say that. It's a highly active area of research.
Yeah.
And there are still a lot of open questions about the best materials and the best methods for creating and manipulating MZMs.
So it sounds like it's a bit of a trade-off. We gain stability and potentially scalability with these MZMs.
Right.
But it comes at the cost of complexity
Yeah.
and a much steeper learning curve.
That's a good summary. In the end, the success of any quantum computing approach depends on its ability to deliver on both fronts, stability and scalability.
It has to be both.
Exactly. It's still too early to say for sure which technology is going to win the race,
Right.
but topological quantum computing is definitely a strong contender.
Okay, so the quantum computing landscape is buzzing with activity, and Microsoft's Majorana 1 chip has definitely thrown his hat into the ring.
For sure.
But let's not forget about the broader implications of this technology, right? This isn't just about building faster computers.
Absolutely not.
This is about potentially revolutionizing entire fields,
Yeah.
like medicine, materials science, artificial intelligence, maybe even our understanding of the universe itself.
It's mind-blowing to think about.
It really is. It's like we're opening a door to a whole new realm of possibilities with applications we haven't even begun to imagine.
It's true.
I mean, quantum computers could help us design life-saving drugs,
Yeah.
create entirely new materials with crazy properties we've never seen before, develop AI systems with human-level intelligence, maybe even simulate the behavior of black holes.
It's incredible to think about all the potential.
It really is. The potential impact on society is just staggering.
It's hard to even grasp the full scope of it.
This is why I find quantum computing so incredibly fascinating. It's not just about building faster computers. It's about expanding the very boundaries of human knowledge and understanding.
Couldn't agree more. It's a truly exciting time to be alive.
Yeah.
Witnessing the birth of a whole new era of scientific exploration and discovery.
Well, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm left with this sense of both excitement and awe at the potential of quantum computing and all the mind-bending physics behind it.
It's hard not to be. It's incredible.
But I also can't help but feel a little overwhelmed
Yeah.
by the sheer complexity of it all.
I get that. Quantum mechanics is notoriously counterintuitive.
It really is. I mean, even physicists who work with it every day are still grappling with its implications.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant challenge.
Right. So for our listeners who are new to this whole quantum world, what's the one key takeaway you'd like them to remember from all of this?
I would say the biggest thing to remember is that reality at its most fundamental level is way stranger and more wondrous than we could have ever imagined.
I like that.
Quantum mechanics shows us a universe where particles can be in multiple states at the same time, where information is entangled across vast distances,
Right.
and where even just observing something can change the outcome of an experiment. It's crazy.
It really challenges our classical intuitions, that's for sure.
It does.
It forces us to embrace the unknown
Exactly.
and to question everything we thought we knew about the world.
And as we keep exploring this quantum realm, who knows what other mind-boggling discoveries await us? It's an exciting time to be a physicist.
It really is. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive so far.
But we have.
From Microsoft's Majorana 1 chip to the Higgs field analogy to the potential of topological quantum computing.
It's been quite a journey.
But before we move on, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question to ponder.
All right, I'm ready.
If we're just starting to scratch the surface of understanding the quantum world,
Right.
what other hidden realities might be out there, just waiting to be discovered? And what implications might those discoveries have for our understanding of the universe and our place within it?
Those are some really big questions, profound ones. They'll undoubtedly keep physicists and philosophers busy for generations to come.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the quest to unravel the mysteries of the quantum realm has only just begun.
Exactly. We're just getting started.
And the journey promises to be as exhilarating as it is challenging.
Oh, absolutely. Count me in.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those profound questions. Join us next time as we continue our exploration of the fascinating world of science and technology.
I'll be here.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in all the excitement about this new chip and the potential of quantum computing in general, but I think it's also important to take a step back and do a little reality check. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, every groundbreaking technology comes with hype, right?
Is that true?
And quantum computing is definitely no exception. There's always a lot of hype around it, so we need to separate the real progress from the inflated expectations, especially in a field as complex and as rapidly developing as this one.
So let's put on our skeptical hats for a moment and take a closer look at some of the claims being made about the Majorana 1 chip and topological quantum computing in general. Where do we even begin?
Well, Microsoft's been pretty vocal about having this direct path to a million qubits.
Yeah.
But scaling up from what they have now to a million qubits is a whole different ballgame. I mean, it's a huge leap.
It's like saying, hey, I can juggle 3 tennis balls, so I'm basically ready to join the circus.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're good, but there's a lot more to it than that.
There are levels to this.
Exactly. And there are just massive engineering challenges involved in building and controlling a system that large and that interconnected, even with all the inherent stability advantages that MZMs offer. So we have to be realistic about the timeline here.
So even though the theoretical potential is definitely there, the practical hurdles are still pretty significant.
Yeah. And it's not just about the number of qubits either.
Right. What else is there?
We also need to think about the efficiency of the quantum operations and the speed of them. The ability to correct for the inevitable errors that will always pop up in any quantum system.
Yeah, you can't escape those, can you?
Nope, they're always going to be there. And then there's the whole issue of developing new algorithms that can actually harness the power of these machines. It's a very multifaceted challenge.
It's like trying to build a skyscraper. It takes a lot more than just stacking a bunch of bricks on top of each other.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You need a solid foundation, a strong framework, and a whole team of experts to pull it off.
It's a big undertaking.
It really is. So yeah, while we should absolutely be excited about the progress that's being made with topological quantum computing, it's important to maintain a healthy dose of skepticism too. We're still in the early stages of development.
Okay, so reality check complete. Topological quantum computing has enormous potential, but we're still a ways off from seeing its full impact on the world. Fair assessment.
I'd say so, but it's still pretty remarkable that we're even at this point where we can manipulate and measure these exotic quasi-particles that were once just theoretical concepts.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
It's a real testament to the ingenuity and the persistence of all the scientists and engineers who are pushing the boundaries of human knowledge.
It's a good reminder that science is an ongoing journey of discovery, and that the path to those big breakthroughs is often full of unexpected twists and turns. You never know what's around the corner.
Absolutely. And as we continue to venture deeper into this quantum realm, I think we can safely expect more surprises and more challenges that will force us to rethink our understanding of the universe, which is always a good thing. Keeps us on our toes,
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Embracing the unknown and continuing to push the boundaries of what we know. It's been a truly incredible deep dive into the world of quantum computing and the fascinating potential of Majorana Zero Modes.
It's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. We hope you learned something new and maybe even had your mind blown a little bit along the way, because the quantum realm is a place where the seemingly impossible can become possible, and the only limit to our understanding is the reach of our curiosity. Keep those minds sharp. Keep those imaginations fired up, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of science and technology. All right, so welcome back, everyone, for round 2.
Yeah, excited to be back.
For round 2 of our deep dives. And this time, we are, I guess you could think of it as like our little Space-Time Café.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, where we can just grab a metaphorical coffee and just ponder some of the universe's greatest mysteries.
Nice.
So today we're going to unravel the tale of a physicist who just disappeared.
Oh, wow.
And he left behind a legacy that's both brilliant and baffling.
Okay, lay it on me.
His name, Ettore Majorana.
Ettore Majorana.
Born in 1906, Italian theoretical physicist.
Mm-hmm.
And he really made some groundbreaking contributions to our understanding of neutrinos.
Interesting, okay.
But in 1938, at the height of his career, vanished without a trace.
What?
Purchased a ticket for a ship from Naples to Palermo, and poof.
Wow.
Gone. Adding to the intrigue,
Yeah.
the Majorana Prize was established in 2006 in his memory to honor his contributions to physics.
Wow. It's quite a legacy to leave behind.
So who was this enigmatic figure, and what made his work so significant? So I'd love to hear from you, about Majorana's work, especially his focus on neutrino masses.
Sure. So Majorana's work was truly revolutionary.
Okay.
To understand why, we need to delve into the world of particles, specifically fermions.
Okay.
So think of electrons and protons, the building blocks of matter. These are fermions.
Got it.
Now, imagine a particle that is its own antiparticle.
Whoa.
That's the mind-bending concept that Majorana proposed, the Majorana fermion.
Okay, so how does this tie into neutrinos, these elusive particles that barely interact with anything?
Right. Well, for a long time, scientists believed that neutrinos were massless.
Okay.
However, Majorana's work suggested they might actually have mass. And what's even more intriguing is the possibility that neutrinos themselves could be these elusive Majorana fermions.
Wait a minute. So wouldn't a particle and its antiparticle annihilate each other upon contact? How can something be its own opposite?
Right. It's a paradox. That has puzzled physicists for decades. If neutrinos are indeed Majorana fermions, it would have profound implications for our understanding of the universe, particularly the mystery of why. There's more matter than antimatter.
You're telling me that the answer to one of the biggest mysteries in cosmology could be tied to this vanished physicist and these ghostly particles.
It's a possibility.
This is getting more and more fascinating. So we've got this brilliant physicist, Ettore Majorana, who proposes this wild idea about particles being their own antiparticles. He might have even cracked the code on neutrino masses, something that has puzzled scientists for decades. And then he disappears.
Yeah.
So what are the prevailing theories surrounding his disappearance?
There's no shortage of theories.
Okay.
Some believe that he might have staged his own disappearance, seeking a life away from the pressures of the academic world.
Okay.
Others suggest he might have become entangled in something dangerous, perhaps. His knowledge was deemed a threat by some unknown entity.
Hold on. Are we suggesting foul play? That's a pretty dramatic twist.
It's definitely a possibility. The lack of any concrete evidence has allowed these theories to flourish. It's almost as if Majorana, like the particles he studied, exists in a state of both being and non-being.
I have to admit, the mystery surrounding his disappearance only adds to the intrigue of his scientific work. It's like physics meets a cold case file. So is there anything in his personality or his known behavior that could offer clues or insights into his disappearance?
Well, Majorana was known to be incredibly private, almost reclusive. Some accounts suggest he was deeply contemplative, often lost in thought.
Okay.
His work was characterized by profound insights and complex ideas, often anticipating concepts that would only be fully appreciated years later.
So we have this incredibly brilliant yet intensely private physicist working on these groundbreaking ideas about the universe. Is it possible that his disappearance is somehow connected to his research?
It's a question that's lingered in the minds of many. Did he stumble upon something so profound, so unsettling, that he felt compelled to withdraw from the world? Did his research lead him down a path he could not escape?
Okay, I am officially hooked. This is more captivating than any detective novel I've ever read. All right, so let's kind of shift gears a bit and explore how Majorana's seemingly abstract ideas are now playing a starring role in cutting-edge technology, particularly in the exciting realm of quantum computing.
Yeah, it really is fascinating how theoretical physics can often pave the way for these groundbreaking technological advancements, and Majorana's work is a prime example of this.
Yeah, for sure. And his ideas about Majorana Fermions, these particles that are their own antiparticles,
Yeah.
now being utilized in the development of more stable and robust quantum computers.
It's incredible.
I have to admit, the leap from these theoretical particles to the tangible world of computers is a bit mind-boggling. So can you help me understand how this connection works?
Sure. So imagine you cool down a specific material to extremely low temperatures. Under the right conditions, the electrons in that material can start behaving collectively, creating what we call quasi-particles.
Quasi-particles? That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It kind of is. Think of it like this. Imagine a stadium packed with fans doing the wave.
Yeah.
The wave itself is not a single person, but rather an emergent phenomenon, resulting from the collective behavior of the crowd.
Okay.
Similarly, quasi-particles emerge from the collective behavior of electrons in certain materials.
Okay.
And what's remarkable is that under the right conditions, these quasi-particles can exhibit the same mind-bending properties as Majorana fermions.
So we can essentially create like Majorana-like particles in the lab, even if we haven't definitively found actual Majorana fermions in the universe.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
And that's precisely what researchers are doing. They're manipulating these Majorana quasi-particles to explore their potential for revolutionizing quantum computing.
Okay, so I'm following you so far. But how do these Majorana quasi-particles actually improve quantum computers?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles in quantum computing is decoherence. Qubits, the quantum equivalent of bits in a classical computer, are incredibly fragile. Any slight disturbance from the environment can disrupt their delicate quantum state, leading to errors in calculations. It's like trying to build a house of cards on a rocking boat.
Right, yeah. So how do Majorana quasi-particles help overcome this challenge?
Well, because they are their own antiparticles, they possess a unique property called topological protection.
Okay.
Think of it like this. If you tie a knot in a rope, you can move the rope around, bend it, even stretch it, but the knot itself remains intact. The knot's existence is a topological property, independent of the rope's specific shape.
Okay. I'm starting to see the connection. So by encoding quantum information in the topological properties of these Majorana quasi-particles, we can create qubits that are less susceptible to environmental disturbances.
Precisely. The information encoded in a Majorana-based qubit is like that knot in the rope, shielded from the wiggles and jiggles of the environment. This topological protection makes them inherently more stable and resilient to decoherence, leading to more reliable quantum computations.
Wow. This is absolutely fascinating. We're talking about harnessing the legacy of a vanished physicist, combined with like the mind-bending world of quantum mechanics to potentially reshape the future of computing.
It's really quite remarkable, and that's the beauty of scientific exploration. Ideas that were once purely theoretical, like Majorana's concept of a particle being its own antiparticle, can find practical applications in ways we could never have imagined.
Yeah, it's a reminder that there's still so many mysteries out there waiting to be uncovered, and those discoveries could have implications that extend far beyond our current understanding. This story is already so captivating, and now we've added quantum computing to the mix. I'm really eager to hear what else we can unpack about Majorana's legacy and his potential impact on our technological future. It's crazy to think that, we've explored this mind-bending world of Majorana fermions and their potential impact on quantum computing. But I can't help but wonder, what would Ettore Majorana himself think about all this?
That's a really good question, actually. It's like we're trying to peer into the mind of a ghost, this brilliant mind that vanished from the world.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to solve this puzzle with some of the pieces missing. We have his work, we have his ideas, but the man himself remains an enigma.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of what makes his story so captivating. It sparks our imagination, forces us to grapple with the unknown.
Yeah, for sure. And if we think about his reclusive nature, his profound insights, and then his sudden disappearance, it almost feels like a story ripped from the pages of a science fiction novel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The parallels are certainly there. A brilliant scientist, delving into the secrets of the universe, uncovering something too profound, too dangerous to share. It's a narrative that's resonated through the years, for sure, fueling speculation and intrigue.
Yeah, and the fact that we still don't have a definitive answer about his fate, only as to the mystery.
Totally.
Thinking back to the Majorana Prize, it's It's remarkable how his legacy continues to inspire and motivate scientists today. It's a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, the pursuit of knowledge, the drive to unravel the universe's mysteries, that pushes us forward.
It really is. And it's a testament to the enduring power of ideas, right? I mean, Majorana's work, born decades ago, and it's still shaping the scientific landscape, influencing research in fields as diverse as cosmology and quantum computing.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who are just beginning to grasp the concepts we've discussed today, what would you say is the most important takeaway from Ettore Majorana's story?
I think it highlights the boundless nature of human curiosity, right? Majorana's drive to understand the fundamental nature of reality, to explore the universe's deepest secrets. I think it's something that we can all relate to. It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is an adventure, one that can lead to unexpected discoveries and profound insights.
Yeah, sometimes that pursuit can lead to more questions than answers.
Absolutely, but it's those unanswered questions, those lingering mysteries. They're often the most powerful catalysts for further exploration and discovery.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's like we've taken a sip from this cosmic cocktail of science, mystery, and human ingenuity, and we're left wanting more.
Yeah, totally. And as with any good deep dive, right? We're left with a sense of wonder, a renewed appreciation for the vastness of the unknown, and a thirst to explore further.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, keep those minds curious, keep those imaginations sparked, and remember, sometimes the most profound discoveries are found, not in the answers, but in the questions we dare to ask. We'll see you next time at the Space-Time Café, where we'll explore another fascinating corner of our universe.